Hello everybody, my name is Eric Arnhem. I am the editor of the Warranty Week newsletter, which if you are not a subscriber, you're welcome to sign up for it. It's sponsored by Tavant, kindly enough, so it is a free newsletter to readers. Today I'm joined by Roshan Pinto, the head of manufacturing at Tavant, and we are going to talk about service analytics at your fingertips. And to illustrate some of the points that Roshan's going to make, I'm going to take a look at some of the warranty data coming out of 8 different companies. And the thing that I want you to do as you look at these, they're sort of, I don't know if they look like earthquakes or heartbeats or EKGs or something like that, but these are charts that follow the claims rate in red, you see it there, and the accrual rate in green. Now basically, the way that these are figured out is that if a company pays, let's say, $5 million in claims, and they have $100 million in revenue, that would be 5%. In other words, 5% of their revenue is going towards paying claims. But the way that most companies run their warranty departments is first, when they sell the product, they put the money aside into the warranty reserve. That is the accrual. And then the bills come due later on, a year, half a year, 2 years later. Those are the claims. So the accrual is what you think will happen, and the claims are what actually happens. So here we're looking at one of the largest companies in the agricultural equipment sector, John Deere, of course. They're also in the construction field, but most of their revenue comes from agriculture and forestry. What immediately jumps out at you when you look at this is, well, they had something happened in 2017. You see that spike in the green line. It goes up to 4.9% in the first quarter of 2017. That's because they had to put $231 million into their warranty reserve that quarter. I don't know why. I'm sure they know why. They didn't say anything. They didn't put it into their annual report or their quarterly financial statements. But it's clear as day there. You can see something's wrong. And that's kind of the principle behind these analytics, the warranty analytics and the reporting that we're talking about. Even external observers can look at this chart and say, ooh, something went wrong in 2017. But internally, the rich amount of data allows a company to drill down to, the product level and perhaps even the production week by week, to find the problem and cure the problem and prevent the problem from coming back. But that's the thing I want to tell you, is that when you look at these charts, you can see immediately when things are going well and when things are not going well, just by the way that the lines are moving. The other thing I wanted to point out to you is that it's very seasonal. It goes up and down every year. Well, that's because it's farming, it's agriculture, it's the growing season. So the equipment purchase cycle and repair cycles are very much keyed to the growing season. So the one last thing I wanted to point out to you is that although they had a bad 2017, if you look to the very rightmost, the second quarter of 2021, which is just a couple of months ago, Deere got its claims rate down to 1.8%. It's kind of hard to see. It's right against the margin there. But that is the lowest it has been since 2013. And their accrual rate also fell to 2.3%. That's the lowest since 2014. Let's go on to Agco, another huge agricultural company. Again, you see a bit of the seasonality, but not so much. Certainly not as much as Deere. They had a bad first quarter of 2021. Their accrual rate went up to 3.9%. But then the second quarter 2021, everything was forgiven, everything was back to normal. The claims rate, in fact, dropped to 1.6%. The accrual rate is back down to 2.7%, which is still a little bit high, but it's in the normal range for this company. And that's the other thing, is that once you look at this chart, you're looking at 18 years of data. You can readily, quickly figure out what's normal for a given company and what's an anomaly. You know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. You know, you can see that something's wrong in early 2021 and something was fixed in second quarter of 2021. Let's go on to A.O. Smith. They make water treatment systems, water heaters, filtration systems and pumps and things like that. And unlike Agco and Deere, what you can see here is you can see a clear upward trend that peaks in 2011, and then a clear downward trend that bottoms out in 2017. In 2011, they had a 4.6% accrual rate, which is not good. 2009, they had a 4.3% claims rate. That's also not good. But now things are good. 1.4% for claims, 1.8% for accruals. So, you know, you can see when things are going well by, you know, how low it's gone in terms of, you know, the percentage of revenue that's going towards these warranty expenses. And you can see when things are not going well, when the spikes come. Let's move on to Toro. This is by far the most cyclical company that I follow. It's so seasonal. You know, they make professional as well as consumer lawnmowers and some other agricultural equipment as well. But the red line is going up and down like a heartbeat. You know, it goes up and then it goes down. Every 6 months it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. That's the claims. As I mentioned to you, claims are what happens to you. But accruals are what you think will happen. And the difference here is that the green line, it's not that cyclical. It's kind of calm, in fact. It's been heading downward. You know, there's a good downward trend from 2003 until recently. But it's more or less level, while the claims are going up and down. So this is a sign that the company is very good at managing its warranty expenses, because it's not it's not responding to the highly cyclical sales cycle. It's keeping an even keel with the amount of money it sets aside, and then, you know, the claims come in as they come in, and they pay them as they pay them. But the thing is that the accrual rate is very moderated, very predictable, while the claims rate is very unpredictable. That's another advantage of warranty analytics, is that it allows you to figure out exactly how much you need to set aside in warranty accruals for the future expenses of the products that you're selling today. Let's go on to the next company, Lindsay Corporation. This is a company that makes irrigation equipment for farms, of course. It's somewhat seasonal, but more than anything, it's very irregular. You see 4 big spikes in their warranty accruals, including one spike in the second quarter of last year. But then you see a big, look at that, all the way against the right side, the red line all the way against the right side. Claims dropped to 0.7% in the second quarter of this year. So that's that's April, May, and June. That's a big drop. That's in fact a multi-year low for the company. Now, you know, you'd think that there'd be a press release or some announcement of, you know, some of the good news here, but generally they don't promote these things, and they certainly don't talk about the spikes. But this is the kind of data that an external observer can take a look at for, well, I mean, I don't know why you'd want to do this with your own company, but certainly you would want to do this with your competitors so that you could say, hey, they had a problem. Oh, the problem's over. So I guess what I'm suggesting is that warranty analytics is not just for your own data, but perhaps for your competitors' data as well. Don't tell them I said that, though. Let's go to the next company, Twindisk. Another company making irrigation equipment. They make some other farm equipment, but primarily they're trucks, parts for trucks and boats and things like that. But they are in the farm industry. They do make irrigation equipment. Now here, I mean, it's clear as day. That giant spike up to 9.2% in 2019 for their warranty accruals. Now normally you do this when you expect your warranty claims costs to soar. And what you see is that, well, the claims cost did rise above 4%, but it didn't really soar. So maybe they went a little bit overboard. I don't know. But now, again, in 2021, both of these expense rates are under 2%. So that's it's not quite a return to normal. It's not quite as low as the baseline has been over the past 18 years, but it's back in the normal range. So whatever problem this company had, it's in the past now. It's actually in 2 years ago past. Let's go to the next one, Valhalla Industries. This company, they only report their data annually, so I don't have any new data to show you. Unfortunately, it cuts off in December of 2020. But what you can see here is that both of their expense rates are now down after being up for about 5 years. So once again, a return to normal, where they had a bit of a manufacturing excursion for the past couple of years. Well, things are getting good again. And then finally, one more, the Alamo Group. Another company that, for a few years, they used to report their data quarterly. You can see sort of in 2011, 12, 13, 14, they were reporting their data quarterly. But then they started reporting it only once a year in their annual report. So that's where it starts to look like a staircase. But again, there's no new data for 2021. It stops in 2020. But you see the same thing here. Very good news, a slow decline from the heights of 2008, 2009. Last year they ended with a 0.9% claims rate. 0.7% accrual rate. This is a kind of a small John Deere. They make all sorts of agriculture equipment: backhoes, mowers, mulchers, grinders, you name it. It's a sort of a small version of John Deere. But what you can see here is this company is definitely getting their warranty expenses under control. So that's what I had to say. I'll hand it over now to Roshan Pinto, the head of manufacturing at Tavant. Take it away, Roshan.
Thank you, Eric. Always interesting to see these stats. And it's a very interesting time. Just moving into what we wanted to talk about today. Service analytics is a space that is becoming more front and center. The ag industry overall is definitely booming. There is a lot of expectation from what is going to happen over the next few years. And as we get into more connected machines, the whole idea of uptime and the ability to manage uptime and connect with what is required in terms of overall maintenance is going to be extremely important. And our focus, as a company, is to zero down on what value we can, continue to bring with, a transition to a more learning model based ecosystem more than anything else, right? So how our machines and the data that is coming from these machines going to enable faster and better decision making. Moving on, we are really focused on what we will be doing from a service analytics standpoint, and within service analytics, we are looking especially to look at things beginning with warranty, and from warranty moving to what is happening from a field service standpoint. So if you move to the next slide, uh, we are talking about a different kind of approach today from accessibility to these service analytics. We work with large equipment manufacturers. We understand the focus there from a strategic standpoint. But what we are seeing in the marketplace today is there is a dire need for service analytics with some of these smaller manufacturers who cannot afford the kind of large investment that is required when it comes to looking at analytics that should be considered basic hygiene. So accessible analytics is where we are trying to look at our value prop and how we can make this simpler when it looks at actionable insights, optimizing your performance, looking at downtime analytics, optimizing pricing. So that's where a lot of our focus is going to be, especially from an ag equipment standpoint. A summarized view on the next slide just shows you what we are trying to bring to the table. More, real-time, plug-and-play, out-of-box kind of reporting, the ability to, start looking at your aftermarket decision-making that is driven far more from data rather than only historical knowledge or SME based decision making. We believe the SME based decision making should be complemented by very strong insight provided by data, and that is where we are hoping that what we bring to the table can bring that kind of a value addition not only to the large equipment manufacturers but also these smaller equipment manufacturers that typically haven't invested in these kind of ecosystems because the cost benefit isn't something that they are able to truly drive through. Moving on to the next slide, we see just a snapshot, a view of some of the critical things we are seeing with our larger customers. Just focusing on one or two of these areas. IoT, while new and still gaining momentum, is now a primary focus area for a lot of the customers we are speaking to, right? A lot of this data coming in and its ability to drive early warning, drive predictive analytics is going to be more front and center, we believe, for any customer, any OEM that is looking to have a competitive advantage. Now, driving a lot of this, a lot of basic hygiene analytics, right? So you look at something like warranty clusters, the ability to, really correlate different types of claims that are coming in and ensure that you are making your decisions not just by knowing that something like this did happen before, but analytics driving you towards what was really seen, finding patterns that exist with these cluster of claims and enabling decision making based on that data and knowledge. So actionable insight is where our focus is, and driving that actionable insight across what we're providing is going to be where we continue to look at how we put in far more time and investment going forward. Moving on to the next slide. Uh, this is just a snapshot of some of the ways we are looking at, where manufacturing analytics really comes into play from a service standpoint. right? So we look at your underlying, basic dashboards in and around warranty metrics, payout analysis, channel analysis, and then get into more machine learning based kind of decision making with suspect claim analytics, your warranty reserve calculations that Eric was talking about. How do you do what if simulations, so that way you are able to predict the accruals in a much better and more informed way. Looking at job code or QA code predictions, and doing that based on text commentary that is there, instead of depending on a technician that is already trying to get the job done and may or may not accurately pick and select the right kind of QA code. How do you, from their notes, essentially drive the right kind of code prediction? So we are essentially looking at a smarter way of bringing a lot of this to the market. Now, while this gives the big picture and everything that could potentially be done, what we are trying to do with the smaller equipment manufacturers on the next slide is talk about where you can start, right? Because a lot of this we believe today is done on in a very manual way, in Excel sheets, access kind of databases, and never looking at one source of the truth. So we want to make it very easy for someone to do what we look at basic, information, and do this in a way that builds the foundation for smarter decision making. So we have come up with an approach where we can get a customer up and running in a few weeks, and essentially at no upfront cost, and look at a partnership based model to drive a value based analytics here. And we are essentially talking of no more than 2 weeks to get you up and running. Look at how to ensure that you have this basic reporting in place, and see how we can take you to the next level where decision making is truly made based on data that comes into play. So today we wanted to just talk about this, and we are hoping this brings more to enable a stronger ecosystem overall from an ag perspective. And we are going to be at WCM next week. We're going to be there with a few of our customers. We're going to be talking about how this data has actually helped customers, and where and what is happening from a decision making standpoint. Eric's going to be at WCM. He has a wonderful session planned out there. So I think overall it's going to be a pretty interesting week next week. So thank you for joining us today, and look forward to meeting any of you who are going to be at WCM. And thank you again. Have a good weekend. Stay safe. Thanks, Eric. And I'll talk to you soon.